Hey everybody, how are you today? I am so glad to be back with you. I was off last week because I was moving, so I'm coming to you from a new place. This is kind of where I set up my office in a guest room, and my house is starting to get settled, but it's still not all the way settled because sometimes it takes a while. So today is a Tuesday, and it's kind of a yucky, gray, chilly day for being a day in May. And I'm just hoping that spring comes soon and we can have nice sunshine and warm weather all the time. So I kind of missed out on what happened last week, but hopefully you saw a story from Miss Marianne. And this week I'm going to start a series of books, and these books will all be about issues around social issues like social justice, if you've ever heard that. So social justice is kind of an idea that we talk about at our church. And the idea is that we would like to make it so things are fair for people, so it feels more fair. And, right now some people are sick, and it's showing that, it's harder for people who don't have access to healthy food, or maybe they don't have health insurance and things like that. So social justice is something that would make it so we would want to fight for those things. So if you ever come to Midweek Missions, you maybe have heard some of the Bible verses that we talk about. And, there's one in particular where it talks about, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me something to eat. I was cold and you gave me clothes, and I was sick and you took care of me. So that is something that we are called to do by our faith and specifically by Jesus, that we are supposed to care for people who need our help and support. And you may know somebody who needs extra help and support. Your family might even need extra help and support. And so just know that, I think there are a lot of people in the world and in our community who really do need help and support, and it's important that we do what we can to help people. And so anyway, I'm going to start reading books that are related to that. And so today's book is called Uncle Willie and the Soup Kitchen, and it is about a soup kitchen where people could go to get food if they don't have enough food. And maybe some of the people who go there are also homeless. Maybe they don't have a place consistently to go home to at night. So let's go ahead and read this book, Uncle Willie and the Soup Kitchen by Diane DeSalvo Ryan. I'm going to try to make it so that you can see the pictures more. Talk to me, says Uncle Willie when he picks me up from school. I get on the steps like a house on fire. Race you to the corner, I yell without stopping. Uncle Willie pretends to wobble on his string bean legs. He makes me laugh so hard that he gets to the corner before I do. While Mom's at work, Uncle Willie's job is to keep an eye on me. That is fine with me, and it's just fine with Uncle Willie. But during the day while I'm at school, my Uncle Willie has another job. He works at a soup kitchen. We fed a lot of people today, says Uncle Willie. Spaghetti and meatballs. Good thing the bakery truck stopped by to give us extra bread. Uncle Willie checks his pocket and sprinkles crumbs onto the sidewalk. I check my pocket too and pull out my paper telescope. Why do you work there anyway, I ask, eyeballing Uncle Willie. It's important, Uncle Willie tells me. Sometimes people need help. Way up the block, I hear the can man's clangety cart piled high with empty cans that he finds in our neighborhood. My mom says he cashes them in for money at the supermarket. Whenever I see the can man, he is pushing his shopping cart in the street. Today, he's on the sidewalk, though, moving his clangety cart right toward us. Have you ever seen anyone picking up cans? Do you see Uncle Willie, and do you see the can man down there? Let's go, I whisper to Uncle Willie. But I think he doesn't hear me. How's business, Frank? Uncle Willie hollers. One more block and I'm done for the day, the can man hollers back. Uncle Willie picks up an empty can and tosses it into the cart. 2 points for the basket, the can man says. Then he hunches back over his cart to give one long push. I listen to the sound of those rattly wheels, clangety bump, until they are far, far away. Since when do you know the can man? I ask Uncle Willie. Since Frank came to eat at the soup kitchen, he says. But why doesn't Frank eat in his own house? I ask. Doesn't he have a place to live? Uncle Willie takes my hand and rocks it high and low. I never asked Frank where he lived, says Uncle Willie. In the soup kitchen, you only need to be hungry. You see the illustrations. When Mom walks me to school the next morning, I see a woman sleeping on the park bench. She looks lonely, I say. I feel kind of sad when I see her. Mom says there's a lot of lonely people these days. That's why I'm proud of Uncle Willie. He's doing something to help. But I wonder what it's like to work inside a soup kitchen. I mean, Uncle Willie goes there almost every single day, and I've never even gone with him once. Mom hands me my milk money and scoots me up the front steps. Why don't you ask Uncle Willie to take you next Monday, says Mom. Remember, you have a day off school. I wonder if you've ever seen someone who maybe is sleeping on a park bench or sleeping someplace that doesn't seem like a place you might normally sleep. And I wonder how that made you feel. I wonder what questions you have about that. All set? Asks Uncle Willie bright and early Monday morning. All set, I say. I check my pocket and pull out my telescope. Uncle Willie grabs his cap and stuffs his pockets with bread. Mom kisses me goodbye and tells us both to keep out of trouble. I wonder if you have any relatives like Uncle Willie that are kind of fun and silly and have a big, kind heart like that. He sounds like a really great uncle. The soup kitchen is not too far from where I live, but it feels like a very long way. We pass my school, we pass the supermarket, the drugstore, the bakery, and the laundry. When we get to Mr. Anthony's meat market, I am dragging my feet. Let's stop and see if Mr. Anthony has anything for us today, says Uncle Willie. Mr. Anthony's store has a little bell on top that rings whenever it opens. Hello already, Uncle Willie hollers. Hello yourself, Mr. Anthony says. Have I got something special for you? When Mr. Anthony comes out from the back, he hands Uncle Willie a lumpy brown bag. He gives me a brown bag too. Chicken for the soup, Mr. Anthony tells us. Food for a feast, says Uncle Willie. The little bell rings again when the door closes, and I wave goodbye through the big front window. When we turn the corner, Uncle Willie points to a small brick building. It looks old and kind of run down from the outside. Here we are, he says. A woman opens the big white door. Good morning, Shanta, says Uncle Willie. A very good morning, says Shanta, smiling. You brought us a helper today. I shake Shanta's hand and follow Uncle Willie inside. The soup kitchen is small and bright. The 4 huge soup pots steaming on the stove make the whole place smell delicious. There are posters on the wall that say, "Have a nice day," and "No smoking, please." Look, I say, lunchroom tables just like my school. But what's that high chair doing there? Uncle Willie takes my bag and puts it down on the table. Little children, come here too. Now, let me introduce you all around, says Uncle Willie. First, I met a cat. This is Underfoot, Uncle Willie tells me. Underfoot works the night shift down in the basement. And over there is Brother Mike. Brother Mike opens the lumpy bags from Mr. Anthony's store and turns them upside down. Chickens, he says, looking over at us. That's great. Thanks for picking them up. A man at the double sink is washing a big silver bowl. And this is George, Uncle Willie says. If it wasn't for George, we'd all be in hot water. Uncle Willie ties an apron on and helps me tie one on too. Now, let's get to work already. I watch Uncle Willie cut the celery short and skinny and split the tomatoes in fours. He chops the potatoes and parsley and onions and tosses some into each soup pot. He smiles at me and jiggles a carrot. Perfect, Uncle Willie hoots, and finishes off the string beans. Will you help me sort the fruits and vegetables? Shanta asks. The market gave us so much fruit that we can make a salad today. I separate the fruit and put it in the sink to wash. While Shanta slices, I mix the fruit inside the big silver bowl with a wooden spoon. I wonder if you ever help make food for your family. I bet you would be good at that. Everything comes extra big around here. George walks over from the sink and opens a really big can of peanuts. He says he wouldn't mind one bit if he had some extra help. I put one big bowl of peanuts, one big plate of sliced cheese, one big dish of butter, and 2 big baskets of bread on every lunchroom table. I'm hungry, I say, when Brother Mike gives every pot one more stir. Break time, he says. Help yourself to a bowl of soup. Sit down already, Uncle Willie tells me, and make yourself uncomfortable. I pour a little bit of soup into a cup for Underfoot. Chicken and vegetable soup, I say, my favorite. I look around at all the empty chairs, but what if there's not enough soup, I ask. Uncle Willie waves his hands, and it's just like magic. He tells me, there's always a little bit more. He pulls something out of his pocket. This little clicker will count how many people come here today, so then we can make enough food for tomorrow. When I'm finished eating, I peek outside and see a long line of people from the soup kitchen door to the corner. I used to be there on those lines, says George, but now I'm in here helping. I stare out the window and reach for Uncle Willie. Are all these people homeless? I whisper, is George homeless too? Uncle Willie leans a little closer and says George rents a room in a building nearby, but some of the people have no place to live. If they're here, they're hungry. And we're here to fill up the bowls. Brother Mike ladles the steaming soup into the bowls and places one on every tray. Shanta dishes out the fruit cups and puts them next to the bowls. When the first trays are ready with soup and fruit, Uncle Willie yells out, "Lunchtime!" We let the big white doors swing open and the first few people rush in at once. The soup is nice and hot from the pot, hollers Uncle Willie. He says hello to just about everybody who comes in. And how are you, Double Jim? Asks Uncle Willie. Double Jim points to his belly and laughs. I'm twice as hungry and 2 times as big, he says. There are so many people pushing in at once that I can't see inside anymore. Some of the guests try to shake my hand, but I stand stiffly against the door. He's got a day off from school, announces Uncle Willie, keeping his hand on my shoulder. So he came by to see where I work. There's Frank, the can man. Hello there, Frank, says Uncle Willie, showing him the boxes of fruits and vegetables. Help yourself. We have extra today. In no time, the soup kitchen is full. Shanta fills up the fruit cups one after the other while Brother Mike fills up the bowls. All of a sudden, it sounds to me as if everyone's talking at once. People go up to the counter and say, "This soup is great. Can I have seconds? You gave her more chicken than me. But I was in line first. We need more bread on our table, please. We want more butter on ours. More cheese on ours." I watched the guests go in and out, first hungry, then full, first hungry, then full. Come on in, calls Uncle Willie. George is walking back and forth. He picks up the dirty dishes from the counter and carries them back to the sink. I can hear the soup spoons going clink, clink, clink. See all the people? A woman shuffles by and stuffs her pockets with bananas. She looks a little bit like the woman I saw sleeping on the park bench. I hope so. I hope she comes to eat at the soup kitchen. It's not so lonely here. Before I know it, the line outside the soup kitchen is gone, and so is all the fruit inside Shanta's silver bowl. A few of the guests stay to help us clean up. I hold the dustpan steady while Double Jim sweeps up a pile for me to scoop. When Uncle Willie and I are ready to leave, we shake hands with all the helpers. Brother Mike pushes open the big front door. Come again any time, he says. We can always use the extra help. Thanks again for the soup, I holler to everyone else in the back. Underfoot liked it too. On the way home, Uncle Willie shows me the counter. We fed 121 people today, he tells me. That's a lot of citizens. I pull my paper telescope out of my pocket and eyeball Uncle Willie. Uncle Willie looks like one big smile. Laughing, he picks up an empty can and hands it to me. I take the can and head for the trash. I turn, I fake, I jump, I shoot. Talk to me, says Uncle Willie, and he hoots as I score 2 more points for the basket. That's the end of the story. I wonder what you think about Uncle Willie in the soup kitchen. I wonder if you've ever heard this book before, and I wonder if you have any questions about this. I also wonder if you've ever helped out at something like a food pantry or a soup kitchen or a homeless shelter. Those are all places where people go to work and help. Sometimes there's an age limit though, so sometimes it's hard for younger kids to do that kind of thing. But if you come to Midweek Missions, sometimes we do things to help them. Like recently we did a thing with birthday bags where we made kits so people could make a birthday cake that they, all the stuff they needed to take home so they could make a cake for someone in their family. So I hope you liked this book, and I hope that maybe you and your family will talk about some of the ideas that are here in this book and some of the things that we talked about. Maybe you can talk about some of the questions you have about people who are homeless or people who are having trouble getting enough food. That's a really good conversation to have with your family. So I hope that I will get to see you soon, and I hope that you'll come back and kind of be with me for this whole series of books about these issues around social justice.